How many games must the team win to be the national champions in basketball? Again, how many NCAA tournament games must a team win to be national champions in basketball? All right, let's take a look at this. First of all, what we got to understand is how many do we have in a typical round? Well, for a long time, and the women still do this, women's basketball NCAA still does 64 teams. Now we have some teams that are having to play into the tournament in the men's games, and they sometimes figure in not just to be the bottom 16th seed, sometimes they're playing to get into the 10th or 11th seed. I never really quite understood. I guess that makes it more exciting to watch, but nonetheless, I always felt like, wow, that's kind of cheap to me to make teams that have really good records try to play just to get into the tournament, while others who have worse records and standings don't get that chance. But anyway, I digress. Let's talk about this thing. 64 teams. We're going to start with 64 teams. Understand that if we pick someone who had to play into the tournament, they went all the way. Hasn't yet happened. Don't know if it will. That means they had to play one more. So what we're going to do, we're going to figure out what is this all about to get to the 64 teams. So we start at 64, and after the first game, we divide off by 2. We'll peel off 2, all right? We're down to 32 teams, all right? So after 64 games, you run down to 32 teams because, hey, one and done. You lose, you're gone. You go home, back to your school, all right? So then the 32 play again, and they divide by 2, and we're down to 16. Now, folks, each one of these represents a game that we're playing, all right? And they play in the round of 64. They play in the round of 32. Here we go. Let's play in a round of 16. Again, we're going to end up with 8, but we played another game. So you get to the Sweet 16, you basically have won 2 games. Now you're going to play in the round of 16, all right? You play that game, you get to number 8. We've gone 4 games now. After 4 games, if you're still winning, you're in the Final 4. You've made it to the Final 4. So we'll divide by 2 one more time. We'll come out with 4. And then we've got the Final 4 that we're going to play one more round with. And win or lose, you're in that last game. So here we go. That's the game that they play in the Final 4, the round of 4. And then they play in the championship. And only one person, folks, only one person can win. But these are the 6 games that it takes. Another way to look at this is an interesting way with bracketology. I just want to point out to you. To determine the number of teams, you would take 2 to the 6th power, all right? 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and you will get back to the 64 teams. Now, if you were one of those 4 teams or 8 teams, I think there are 8 teams now that have to play in, 68 teams altogether. Actually, there may be maybe just 4 of them that do. Anyway, those folks have to play one more. So possibly 7, but definitely 6. 6 what games you have to win. Have to win 6 games. All right? And by the way, to be champions, you've got to win. Someone's going to lose and win tonight. Only one person can be the NCAA men's basketball champ. And yesterday, the women's champ was established, and it also went through the same process. Started with 64 teams, went down 32, 16, and on down to 8, 4, 2, and 1 remained at the end, all right?
For more math help, visit TNLearn.org.